So if you don't know, this is Eddie over here. We've done a few videos. He's like the open source guru. Look at how crisp his camera is. The first video we ever made was like I was using my webcam and he was using this crisp camera. Now this is going to be like the crispest live stream you've ever seen, hopefully. And let me know if the music's too loud. It should be okay. Yeah, we should be all right. So he's just going to be taking questions. We'll answer some questions. He has his own startup. He also works... Do you say contractor or freelancer? I'd say contractor, right?
Yeah, more of a contractor, yeah.
Okay. And then... Yeah, that's it. You run a startup, you have your own YouTube channel, and you work as a contractor. So this dude's busier than me. Pretty much. And you have a wife. Like, I have a girlfriend, but I'm not married, so that's like you got different kinds of commitments than me.
My wife's really good, actually. She allows me to get on with the coding and the open source and the startup side, so she always helps me, so that's really good. So, yeah, she does a lot of my kind of admin as well. Being a lawyer, she doesn't mind reading stuff, whereas as a coder, I don't know if everyone's the same as me, but I really don't like to read a lot of stuff. So when I get like anything more than half a page, I send it off to the wife and say, can you read this and let me know which bits are the important parts?
Yo, what's up? Okay, so we got some people. What's up? So you guys can just drop your questions in there. He'll answer. Do you have the... Yeah, so you have the chat pulled up. Will you interview an EU developer? This is an EU developer right here. Well, I mean, until they totally Brexit, they're still EU.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm not limited. EU for us is, you kind of a couple of hours time zone each way, so that's really easy. Yeah, absolutely. I think limiting people's hiring to an area is really close-minded. So yeah, out of curiosity, whereabouts in the EU? So probably from my accent you can tell I'm from the UK or from near London. But whereabouts?
So there's another question. What makes a software engineer considered senior, in your opinion?
Oh, that's a really good question. So it's more probably about the broadness of how much they know. I think with a lot of things, you either go wide or go deep. And I think to be a senior dev, you probably need to go deep in a couple of areas, and also still broad and wide overall. So you've got an understanding and an appreciation for other parts. So I interviewed someone a couple of days ago, and they knew Angular really well, which was great. So that's deep in the UI stuff, and in the backend stuff, they knew Node and Express. Again, that was deep. They knew about automated testing on the front end and back end, and they were really good on the CI, so continuous integration and continuous deployments, about the best practices to. You don't have to manually deploy anything. It's when it gets reviewed, code gets reviewed and gets merged into the develop branch, it automatically gets deployed out to the development environment. And then as a collection of features are collected up and go into master, then it goes out to your staging or production, depending on how you have it set up. So I think that's really important. So, but also knowing about DevOps, not necessarily having to be able to do it all, but have an appreciation for it. I think as people get 10 plus years, they get to work with different people from different areas in the tech kind of area, and they get to work with business analysts, designers, and then they have an appreciation for other skills. So I think that's really important.
So
hopefully that answers the question.
It does. Can you spam your channel and stuff? People want to know. So just
sure.
Drop it in the chat.
Let
Connor,
me do
what's
that.
up, man? We're good. So while you're doing that, what is your educational background? I don't even think I remember if I asked you. I think you went to college. Do you have a master's? I forget.
I do. I have a master's in electronic engineering. But the interesting thing is, I think degree good for some people, not for others. But in terms of getting a job, I don't look at that. For me, the education part, I never even look at on the CV, really. But the reason why it was good for me was because I wasn't very academic. University for me was just to have fun, party, and so on. But my master's allowed me to focus a bit better, as in not always like trying to work and play at the same time never works. You won't have fun and you won't work. So my master's kind of taught me that when I'm working, I should work. When I'm playing, I should just play. And then if I get the best of both worlds. So for me, it was good in that aspect. In terms of coding, I actually hated coding at university. I avoided all those subjects because it wasn't taught well. And so it was very academic and I didn't enjoy coding. Then towards the end of my master's, I started enjoying it a little bit more. and I actually went to a few events like hackathons. And when you can build something and see the result quite quickly, I really loved coding from that point of view. So for me, just after uni was a real turning point, and that's when I started coding in web dev. So it's never too late.
Cool. Let's see. Any tips for a new C# developer?
For C#, I don't know so well, although I do have quite who actually work for Microsoft, like on the evangelist team. But one of my advice I'd give to any developer is definitely do some open source work, no matter how small it is, because you get used to the whole flow of doing pull requests, reading comments, making tweaks, and all the rest. Even if it is just documentation, it doesn't have to be code, just get started. Go to events if you can. I know the US is massive, so it's not like in the UK where kind of in an hour you can be across the country. But definitely go to events, from tech conferences to meetups to hackathons. Networking is really important. I think it's not always about what you know; it's also about who you know. So I really believe getting involved in the community, and then you can build on that later on. You can then hopefully give a talk. Because even if you're only 6 months into your learning or your career, don't forget there's somebody who's where you were 6 months ago. So you could give a talk to, like, if you're doing 6 months of Angular or Node or whatever it is, or React, won't leave those people out. Then you could give a talk, just a quick lightning talk on 15 minutes, getting started into that, and that will really allow people in that community to get to know you, and then people can start approaching you rather than you approaching people. So definitely get involved. It is worth the investment.
Okay.
The chat is going so fast. I don't know how you keep up with it.
Right. So I was just about to say something. So you're like the most well-spoken person that I've ever talked to, ever. You don't say or ah or eh. Let me think. But you give really long answers. So let's do more concise answers and then more questions. Does that work?
Sounds good.
Okay. How important is a GPA to finding a job as a software engineer?
GPA, that's just the education system in the States.
Yeah, it's like A is 4 points, B is 3 points, and then so on.
Oh, right, okay.
You average it, yeah.
I think it gets your foot in the door sometimes at the beginning, but I don't think it actually should have any effect. If you've got 1 or 2 jobs already, then it should have no effect. Like I say, when I hire people, I don't really look at their education. I look more at if you've got a GitHub link on your CV, your CV goes to the top of my pile. Even if I haven't even looked at your GitHub account, and then looking at it, obviously, if you've got activity, it helps.
Oh, also, we're talking about, he mentioned GitHub, but on his channel, he's going to start doing GitHub reviews. So an open source reviews. If you have an open source project, he'll look at it, he'll critique it. He's going to be doing live streams where you could link your GitHub, and he'll look at your code and tell you if it's garbage. Look at this dude flexing his setup here.
And you can see my setup.
Are you serious? I don't have this. This dude always one-ups me on the live stream, and I get a better camera, he gets an 80-inch TV. What do I? But this is what you get when you're a CEO and a startup, and when you do all the things. Anyways,
let me switch back.
Connor, I know you're from the UK because you're here a lot. I remember you. What do you think for a new dev in the UK that wants to get back into or get into the industry? Because I know the US, we don't really care so much about the paper, but the EU, I would say once you move over to the mainland EU, they care because education is cheaper, so they just kind of expect you to go. But I know in the UK you got to pay. So what are some tips for people in the UK, I guess specifically, to get into the industry? Self-taught or boot camp?
Yeah, self-taught is good, and boot camp is great. Some don't, so whatever works for you. And again, just get some side projects going, so people can see stuff. I like to keep my interviews short and sweet, although I do talk a lot, as pointed out, because when you're interviewing 30, 40 people, it's really hard. But if you've got any side projects, any open source work, no matter how small, just get it out there, and so people can see it, and then you're just going to jump ahead of the queue. So side projects, even share your learnings. Even if you're learning something, just share that on GitHub. It doesn't have to be perfect.
What about work in progress projects?
Do it, absolutely. I want to see that more. I don't want to see the funnel. I don't want to see one commit and project. I want to see the journey, because I actually do, one of my secrets is actually, if you've got a project that's been out for a couple of months, I'll go back a month and look at your code in the history from a month ago and see if the code a month later, so as in now, has improved. That's really important to me, because if you're writing code a month ago the same as you are now, you haven't learned anything. So the history is really valuable, and getting better as you go is really valuable.
I think if you guys are watching, that's probably like the most pro tip. Because you can imagine if Eddie's doing this, a bunch of other CTOs are doing this. They're going to look at your GitHub, and then they're going to look at your previous projects on your GitHub, and they want to see, or like maybe previous commits to see how you're, depending on how old the project is, but like to see that improvement. There's some more stuff. How long should you stay at your first job? I've heard like a year.
I think a bit more than, my opinion, a bit more. 2 years, give or take, is good. Any more than 3 or 4 is way too much. I think a year, people get a bit nervous when they're reviewing CVs because they think, oh, I've trained up that person, but then they learned what they needed to learn and they left. So around 2 years, I think, is a soft spot, give or take.
Yeah. What about HTML projects? How do you feel about those? I mean, I feel like you're going to be limited to, I don't want to say lower end jobs, but I'm just going to say you're going to get paid less for those jobs. So they're not lower end, but HTML projects alone, I feel like if you're going to do HTML, you should probably have the designs. Like you should have the prototypes, you should have the mock-ups, and then you could have the HTML structure of it with some CSS or Sass or whatever. But then that would maybe count as a more like complete advanced UI UX type project. But if you just have HTML projects and you want to be a Python dev, you're going to need more, I think. What do you think, Eddie?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you answered that really well. I think that's really good.
Okay. Riley says, congrats on the first bike. The Speed Triple is a sick bike. It's a British bike. I don't know if Eddie knows. It is. It's a UK company. It's a 1050, 1000 cc's, inline 3. It's got a lot of torque. I don't care about the top end speed so much because I don't want to get arrested. I'm not interested in doing wheelies. I'm not interested in going super fast. The only reason I have the power on that bike is so that I can get out of the way, accelerate fast to get out of the way. But it's not my first bike. I've been riding for a while when I was younger. Okay. How do companies feel about someone running a side business while you're working for them? So Eddie doesn't care because he does that. But what do you think?
I actually prefer it. So as long as the person is quite structured, as in when they're working for me or working with me on my client project, that they're there 100%. And then what they do in their own time is their own business. But actually, I prefer people who do some sort of side hustle, be it YouTube, any sort of personal branding, events, hackathons, or even a project that they hope to monetize later on, because it shows that they're motivated, and that actually counts for a lot. I'd rather have someone who, I actually said this to a CTO the other day, or actually last week, that I'd rather hire someone with less experience or less focused skills, but they're more passionate, they're always learning, and by doing a side project, they're going to be coding stuff and they're going to be learning stuff, and they'll bring that into their day job. So that's a huge plus. I'd say do it, definitely. Absolutely. Even if you don't plan to monetize it, just do it.
Oh, Armand, what's up, man? Craig is here. Craig said hello to Eddie, but I don't know if you're reading chat.
Hey, no, chat's going so fast. Sorry, I missed it. Hey, everyone.
Is it better to spend a lot of time mastering one language or doing many different languages? I'm a fan of kind of like the latter, because I think you might not understand this concept in JavaScript, but if you look at it in Python, it clicks for whatever reason, then you're like, oh, now it's just syntax. What do you think?
That's a tough one. Again, I think everyone's different, so you brought up a really good point. But if you can get to, 75% of a language, then to move on. I remember back in the early days of my career, 5 or 6 years in, I was trying to get to 100% of a language, and you never get there. You can't, and I think then it starts becoming less beneficial as you kind of pass maybe the 75-ish mark. So I would get good at a language, you're really confident with it, a lot of the libraries and dependencies, and a lot of the performance tweaks, security tweaks, but then do branch out, do others, and you'll pick up others a lot easier because a lot of them follow the same sort of benefits and process.
This just popped in my head. I'll answer the other questions in just one sec. I was watching a video, and specifically for me, because I make videos, you make videos, but what do you think about this in terms of code? Done is better than perfect.
Well, it's subjective because perfect today, I hope it's not going to be perfect in a month. So if we make it 100% perfect today, when you look back a month ago, again, one of my other interview questions, if you look back at your code from a month ago, is it good or is it bad? And I'm hoping you're going to say it's bad. So good enough. And if it's got automated tests on it, then you know you can refactor it in the future if you need to, make it even better. And as long as the automated tests pass, the application as a whole will still work. So yeah, good enough.
That's kind of how I approach a lot of my videos. Just done is better than perfect. I'll spend 3 hours adding the perfect picture to one little clip that no one notices but me, and then that doesn't. So that just is like for that. Okay, so answer these questions in like as fast as you can.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to, but anyone
Sorry,
know Eddie's?
everyone.
So Eddie, keep spamming your YouTube channel.
Okay, let me spam it again.
Spam. Okay. See.
I saw something about events as well.
Yeah, I know, but it's so fast. Ricardo, how do companies? Okay, so I read that one. What's better, self-taught bootcamp or degree? And depending on okay, so it depends on what you need. Degree is probably the least on that. Self-taught is the cheapest route and the most discipline required route. And bootcamp are for people who need that extra nudge, need that structure. Let's see, Armand.
Perfect answer.
Hopefully that answered. Thanks, man. We should do a podcast.
We should.
Like, you haven't. Oh my gosh.
Thanks for the subscribe. I just saw someone might subscribe. Thank you.
Eddie, when are you coming to the U.S.? You've been to the U.S., right?
I've been to New York, and there's a Skills Matter conference in New York in May that I'm thinking of going to, but the wife wants to go to Mexico, so it's kind of like trying to juggle everything. I do a lot of events in the EU, so if anyone's in the EU who wants to come to events, subscribe to my newsletter. I always say I'm going to start sending out monthly events that I go to. It'd be great. Come vlog with me. Come hack with me at hackathons. So yeah, but I do want to do some more in the US. It's a long flight, and I hate flying.
Yeah, I mean it's long for sure. I should come to the UK. I've never been there. I've only been into the Tube once, and that was just at the airport.
But you should come to the UK or EU and together, and we'll do stuff.
Yeah.
We'll geek out and code.
So like there's me, like I'm okay at making videos and stuff, like, but I'm not the greatest programmer. This is this guy. I'm just gonna donate my channel to Eddie because he knows all the things. Like a lot of people, you guys assume that I'm an expert in like everything, when in reality I just kind of take some of my knowledge of something that I'm good at and kind of try to transfer it if it's applicable, whereas Eddie actually knows all the things.
But in addition to that, the more I learn, the more I realize actually how much I don't know. There is just so much out there.
You can't steal those quotes, yeah. Eddie. You got to give credit to that quote. I don't know, you said it, but
I don't know where I got that from, but it's true.
Gregory, yeah, it's live. So tips for people in the UK that are undergrad that want to get into the industry. Right now, I know there's like Makers Academy, Lambda does EU now, and then I think there's one other bootcamp in the UK, but
there's Flatiron, Lewagon. I've actually got some videos coming out from some of the people I interviewed at Lewagon, coming out in the next couple of weeks, 4 people. Yeah, bootcamp, they are expensive. But if you need it, do it. Best advice I can give, events and side projects. If you're in the UK and you're near London, come meet me at some events. I'll introduce you to some people. I know people are always hiring, looking for passionate people. So you got to show that you're passionate, and you got to think that you're not going to meet everyone that's hiring. So you need to show your passion online, like with videos like Joshua is, or GitHub, or both if you can. I want to be Josh when I grow up on YouTube. His personal branding is awesome.
It's not, but I don't want that just for me. Like everyone needs a brand. Like because Eddie and I were talking about this yesterday. Who are you gonna hire? You're gonna hire the guy that just has a resume and cover letter, or the guy that has a resume and cover letter, active GitHub, a bunch of videos and blog posts about how he contributes to something in his life, not necessarily code. You're probably gonna hire the guy that you can see his personality outside of having to bring him in directly in front of you to get to know him. Those are gonna really increase your chances with remote too, because there's a certain amount of trust needed to know that they're going to do the work. Okay.
That's awesome.
Let's see. Azure or AWS for cloud computing?
I haven't used Azure. I've used AWS and Google, Heroku and DigitalOcean. AWS is really popular in the UK. It's really popular. Most places seem to ask for it. But it's the UX on it is horrendous, but it's quite powerful. Definitely invest some time in learning at least a few of their services and how to use it. And CloudFormation if you can. Forget the click and point. If you can configure it with JSON or YAML, then that's big thumbs up.
What do we got here? This guy sounds brutal if he interviews you. I mean, he's not gonna go. He's not gonna be easy, but like nothing worth having is easy. Like,
I think it's important to push people a little bit, not to make them feel uncomfortable, but to push them to kind of, because some people are reserved, and I don't want someone's sales pitch. I want to see what they're really like. That's why I love to hire people at hackathons, because they're going to be tired, hungry. And if they're really good people and they're really nice and they're still passionate when they're tired and hungry and still doing some good work, then you know you can work with them in a better situation. So, sorry to interrupt there.
No, it's okay. What do you think about Code Wars, like Interview Cake, like algorithmic practice type websites? I know you're not a big fan because you don't do them at the job. Like you don't do them on the job, right? So.
Yeah. That's why I hated coding at uni, because that's what we did at coding at uni, and it wasn't very practical. It was pointless. It's fun a bit to do. I think you should do it a little bit, but don't. Side projects much better, and not just CRUD stuff. Think of a bit more than CRUD, and look at design patterns and not visual design patterns in terms of architecture design patterns. Like I'm saying now, adapter pattern, factory pattern as MVC, but we rarely write MVC, and we use MVC. But we don't write it, whereas factory and adapters and all those things, and singletons, pros and cons of them is really important.
I know singletons, but I don't know the other ones. I just know singletons.
They're really useful.
You have to use them for the game to carry the information from the menu to the levels and back, yeah. That's all I knew. Everyone wants to be hired by you.
That's cool. I want to work with everyone who's here. Has definitely got a thumbs up in my book, because you're doing something outside your work or outside your studies, and you're branching out to the community. So again, this is a thumbs up. If you've got activity on your YouTube and Twitter and stuff, a second thumbs up. I can put my foot up. You'll get a third kind of thumb up if you have GitHub as well. So yeah, awesome.
Control V your YouTube in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to like keep doing like every 5 minutes or so, every 2 minutes. What were those different patterns again? Adapter pattern, singleton, and then one other. I forgot.
Factory. Adapter is really useful. Factor is really useful. You probably use them on a daily basis. And with the other ones, there's a great book called Gang of Four. It's about 30 years old. It's got about the 20 or 30 most popular, useful design patterns.
Wait.
You don't have to learn all of them.
You're dropping gems. Gang of Four is what you said?
Yeah, really, really important. I always ask people if they've read it or know of it, and that kind of separates, what level people are at as well. So Gang of Four, it's a really good book. Don't learn everything. Learn 3 or 4 of the useful ones, but read the titles of all of the others and understand when they're used for, so you can talk about it. And therefore, when you do need to use it, you know when to use it and you know where to look for it. And someone asked about senior dev. That's really important. So as a senior dev, you can't learn everything, but as long as you're aware of things and you know when to look and when to use it. So I don't know all the design patterns, but I'm aware of a lot, and I can go look them up when I need them and know when best to use them.
Okay. I'll answer a couple. One internship for a Big Four or multiple internships from startups and other companies. Depends what you want to do. If you plan on leaning on one of those Big Four to like promote your career more towards a more corporate route, maybe go there. If you want to be a developer today and a business owner tomorrow, I'd go with the startup route, because you're going to be doing more of everything and less of code. There's like, if you get to a corporate job and you go to any HR meeting, they're going to be like, all right, we have 2 paths in this company. You can either go the technical route or the management route. And that's what I mean by that. Like, you can either go dive deep into tech and you'll make a great employee, you'll make a great salary, a great living, or you can go the management route and you'll either be fired because you don't know how to do anything, not good. Like Eddie says, you're not good enough to make any important decisions. And what was the other one? Like, basically you don't do anything. And then
I have not a lot of respect for middle management, because they're there because they couldn't do the job. They can just people. So yeah, I mean, I've been offered CTO loads of times, and I always turn it down because I might be a good CTO for a few years, but then after that, I'm not going to be in the trenches doing it daily, and I'm going to fall behind. So, yeah, be hands-on, get involved.
That's your phrase. Not good enough. good enough to make any decisions that are important and not good enough to do the actual developer job. And so you just get through. It's my favorite phrase for middle management. It's true. Okay. What do we got? Currently at your coding job, all you did was coding. You've heard about everyone you follow talk about personal branding. Can I elaborate on the importance? Yeah, the importance of personal branding is in the future, a brand will replace your resume. Right now, your resume is your brand, essentially, and it's a very static brand. With an actual brand, with a portfolio, with a website, with content out there, people can see your personality before they get to know you. They can get to know you without having to get to know you. And so if you come into the interview and someone's watched 30 of your videos, they already kind of feel like they know who you are. And as if you're the same person in both places, that is. But it's going to replace the resume. Obviously, you need to have that because that's just a formality, or it will be a formality. So imagine instead of writing a cover letter, you just link them a channel or a content piece that you wrote about X, Y, and Z and how it relates to their company, and you'd be a good fit. And so brand is everything, even if you're not a dev. So if you're like UI, UX, it's similar to being an artist. You have a portfolio. Yeah, that's my rant. There's another question.
No, that's a really good answer. And when I talk about like dev and tech, I'm talking about everyone on the tech project as well. So I am including business analysts, technical writers, designers, UX, all those. But yeah, good answer. I think it's important.
Cool. So I'd recommend, like, the feedback I get a lot is like, well, what if I don't want to make videos? And you have two options: get really good at writing and pay for traffic, or make videos and just deal with that. Just toughen up, buttercup type deal. That's just like how it is. I mean, you got to get better at speaking in front of people. That's the world of information that we live in, and it's hard to say. But like, if you get ahead of it now, eventually everyone will be so obsessed with building their brand that it will be hard for anyone to stand out. And even it's hard to do on now, like on Instagram or YouTube. It's hard to get a YouTube channel going now. It was easier back then. And then as time goes on, people will realize, oh, I have an advantage if I do this. Then everyone will do that, similar to how everyone is getting a degree now, because that gave you an advantage before. And people realize that, and they caught up. Now the curve has changed again. Anyways.
Listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about.
That'll be the future. And then I'm in this really meta place of like, I don't technically want to work a dev job, but I'll help you get one. And then so my job is to help people get jobs. It's weird. Okay. How do you see software engineer job changing in the next 5 years?
Well, that's a hard question. I think it's becoming more rapid, so little and often. People deploying more often, so rather than collecting up a month's worth of work, deploying, it might work, it might not. If it doesn't work, you have to roll back. So in my current projects and clients, we don't roll back anymore. We only ever roll forwards because we can deploy so fast. So if we make a coding change, we can have it on production within 30 minutes, and we can do that 10 times a day. So we never roll back anymore, we always roll forwards. So I think it's becoming more little and often, and you're getting more of a mixture of skills within the team. I think it's good to have everyone doing maybe full stack, but you've got someone who specializes more in the back end, but has a really good appreciation for the front, and vice versa, someone who can really focus on the front end. But including that, designers, UX, again, little and often, it has to be good enough. They're putting it out to be good enough and getting feedback from the users and then making changes, and a day or two later put some new changes out. So I think it's becoming more rapid, it's becoming more prototyping.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers it.
How much should a JavaScript developer charge day rate, and how much should a senior charge? I mean, you should figure out the company's budget.
Yeah, that's really hard. It depends on location, and junior and senior is really questionable as well, because I think it's really hard to gauge if someone is at that level without working with them or seeing some of their projects. It's really hard. I think if I said some numbers, it would be probably incorrect. I could be specific about local to me or levels of people that I've worked with, but it's quite hard. But doing what we've said doing what we've said will help you charge more. And the more you become in demand, the more you can, charge more. If you've got 2 or 3 offers, then you can pick the higher one or say to the one you want, I really want to work with you, but they've offered me more. Can you match it? And you just slowly push it up over time. You've got to think of it for the long game, not the short game. I stole that from Gary Vee.
Yep. How do you land a 100K USD remote developer job with 3 years experience? I mean, like, no one's going to promise you that number, and that's not going to happen. Like, I can't. Why do you only want 100? I mean, at that rate, you might as well just be like, how do I land a 400? Like, don't just put a number on it. It's not always about the number. Like, you don't need it. Maybe some people think they do, but you don't. After a certain amount of money, you'll have enough money, but you won't have any time to use the things that you spend it on. I promise you. I'd look for something that offers a more fulfilling life than that. And then after 3 years, how do you find remote developer in the U.S.? Try to find a job working for a startup in San Francisco remotely. I don't know. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, trying to get both, I think at the beginning is quite hard. So if you want more money, then focus on remote. Whereas if you want more remote, you probably end up with a little less money. But then once you've built that up, you can get more money later. But yeah, money shouldn't drive you. And it's easy for me to say because I've been doing it for 15 years, but at the beginning, I'm sure I was the same as well.
Let's see. How flexible is your schedule as a senior dev? Eddie does what he wants. He makes the rules now.
I have that privilege now after putting in like investment.
You cut out. Repeat that again.
Okay. I was saying as putting in 10, 15 years of investing in myself, my open source, everything, I've got a lot more flexibility now. So I've got clients for a few days a week. I'm doing my own startup on the side. I take a couple of months off. Okay, last year I took kind of 6 months off. I just went to hackathons and events, but that really allowed me to build up my network, learn loads of new tech, got invited to loads of private events at various big companies that you'll know as well. So yeah, it's invest in yourself, definitely. Don't think about the money, invest in yourself, and the money will come later.
Did you ever work remote? He's working remotely right now, technically.
So I've done working remotely the last 3 years full time. So I did a fintech bank in Germany from the UK, and that was really good. I did that for 2 years, and now I'm working remotely for a fintech in the UK, but I go to the office 1 or 2 days a week for meetings and sprint planning and demos and so forth. So as Josh was mentioning, you need to know how to present, because you need to, if you want to be that senior dev or that lead dev, you need to be able to present your sprint project, so what you've done for that week or two, to the wider team. So you need to get better at that.
Okay.
But I think remote, it's good to have a balance of remote. I think it's good to meet the team at least one day every 2 weeks to build up that relationship a bit more.
True. How do you deal with imposter syndrome as a junior dev? Well, I don't know. A lot of people say, how do you get past it? And it's more like, how do you move through it? Like, it comes and goes, and you just deal with it when it's there, and then it goes away, and you deal with it again. It doesn't, like, you gotta quit trying to go around the wall. You just go through it. That's it. You just deal with it. That's it. You accept that you don't feel confident to do it, but you recognize that feeling confident doesn't mean you don't have the ability to do something. How many times you're like, I don't think I can do this, and you go do it, and you come back, you're like, I crushed it. Same thing with imposter syndrome. There's a couple other questions.
What he said.
How would you scale a one-man web design agency? Well, one-man web design, depending on how, you don't really have any leverage there. If you're the one putting in the hours to build the thing, the product, there's no leverage. You can only sell your 1 hour for one thing at one time. You can't sell 1 hour for 10 people. You're not omnipotent like that. So you got outsourcing or simplify your tech stack that you're building stuff with. I don't know. What would you say, Eddie?
That's a hard one. So with my startup, while it was me, now I've hired some people remotely, which is great. But it is hard because you're trying to do the tech, you're trying to do the sales, and you don't want to let go. And I think you need to let go. And if you can't hire someone, because you don't have more work and the pipeline's coming in, maybe get someone as a freelancer and get them to help you, because then they'll allow you to focus more on the sales and the pipeline, getting more work coming in, and then you can slowly kind of scale a bit more. Make sure you keep your hands on with the tech though. Don't go all the way into the non-tech side, otherwise you'll lose your finger on the pulse.
Okay. Is it normal to Google the Python syntax? So look, it doesn't even matter if it's the Python. You could put the PHP, the Ruby. Yes, it's normal. It's pretty normal. There's like the different phases. There's like copy and paste the code, directly expect it to work, copy and paste a piece of code, change it to make it work, and then look at the code and then type it out yourself because you know you could do it a little bit better than that. Like that's like the development of a developer.
I've lost sound. Sorry, one sec.
How important are soft skills in an agile environment? Well, I mean, I don't know. It depends on your position. If you're like the Scrum Master or the project management manager, then probably you should know how to communicate. Maybe what a Gantt chart is. Do you have sound again?
I think it's important. My sound's dropping in and out.
Okay.
But soft skills are important. I think they are important because not every team will have a Scrum Master. So you might, as a senior or a lead dev, or even as a junior dev, you can shine more by knowing more about Agile and having those soft skills and helping improve communication and efficiency.
Okay. You got an internship to graduate. It's 2 days a week, but
I've lost
unpaid.
sound. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. I don't know what's happening.
You're just trying to pass every day. Do you think it's impossible? Do you think it's possible to do an internship in an IT company without having much coding?
My AirPods.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's unpaid. That's pretty stupid that it's required to graduate and unpaid.
I lost sound completely.
Let's see. Soft skills are great for middle management, but middle management is, as Eddie would say, not good enough to make important decisions and not good enough to do the job. So it doesn't matter how many soft skills you have in middle management. They're just like, it would cost us more money in unemployment to fire you, so we'll just keep you around type deal. And not give you any real power. And so you just get these dudes floating around cubicle farms with coffee cups, slapping you on the back. Hey, how was your weekend? You see the game last night? Yeah, we really did great. Oh my god. All right. Gonna watch this later. It's good talk. I got your email and I got the other one, Greg. I was just super busy all day, and then after this, I got some meetings.
Yeah, my AirPods are done. Sorry, they're going on and off. Don't know why.
It's okay.
Hopefully, you don't get feedback with me using my speakers.
Yeah, it's okay. Should you do an internship after graduation or apply for full time? No, you apply for full time before you graduate. How is it possible to get an internship as a freshman?
But if you're struggling to get a job, do an internship. Do it for free. Just get a bit of experience. Get your foot in the door. Meet people. If you're struggling to find work, obviously, like Josh was saying, apply for jobs before you finish. But don't do nothing. Don't binge on Netflix. Make sure you're doing something.
Let's see. You're back to web dev. All right, Frank. How is it possible to get an internship as a freshman? I mean, you just apply for jobs same as anyone else.
See if they have any like careers fair. I hired a couple of mine at a careers fair at the university in London, at UCL, and I pay them really well because they're really good and they add value to the team. So I'm paying them, a kind of junior rate, but they deserve it. So I would, definitely network with people.
So
they're fully remote, so I'm always open.
What's your next step? So Ricardo, what's next career-wise for you guys? You comfortable where you're at? No, never be comfortable. Comfort is the enemy. Do you plan on moving forward somehow? If you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. I'm sorry, that's just the case. Eddie, where do you want to be in 5 years? Let me just HR question you real quick.
Where I'd love to be is, I still love to go to events, but I love to be sponsoring more events. So I can get people from overseas and coming to these events and sponsoring, taking people from here going to overseas. I think it's good to kind of mix a lot more. And also my startup. I love my startup to be running itself, so I don't have to running itself financially, so I don't have to have client work to fund the startup. That'd be great, and I'd love to just hire loads more awesome people, give them a good work-life balance with flexible remote working, and also get a good product out there, which is 100% open source, by the way. That's how much I believe in open source. My startup is open source.
How long should you spend searching before doing a free internship? You can do a free internship and still search. Just because you take the free internship doesn't mean you got to stop and be like, oh, I guess this is my life now. No, even when you have a paid job, you should probably have something on the sly, because you get people that are like, sorry, we ran out of money, bro. And you're like, wait, but you weren't transparent. Yeah, I know, we thought we had, and then now that's on you. And so don't just stop every time. What do you think of studying something untech related and having interest in other things outside of coding, like mechanics? Yeah, I mean, does that look bad applying to a job? Depends on who's looking at your stuff. If you have like an and eclectic tastes of interest like myself. Like, I would say that I'm like a jack of all trades, master of none, but better than master of one type deal. Like, it sounds kind of like conceited, but it's more like I can do a lot of things, like 80%, and then I could just pay some guy to do the last 20% that I don't know how to do. And I think some people recognize that, and some people want the dude that's like 120% of this one thing to answer those really difficult stuff. I don't know, maybe that helps Connor. It's such a good...
I want to show off my screens again, sorry.
What light is that?
This one up here?
Yeah.
It's just a newer variable LED light. I think it's about like $100 or something. It's actually really good. I've got 3 of those.
Wow.
I'm using one now, but I've got a couple more behind me when I'm recording videos.
You have to figure out how to put these up on like split screens with your OBS, so you have this and me in like a corner of your box. Let's see. There was one. What's the biggest tip for a junior front-end dev? Best practice, technology, etc. I'll let Eddie answer that.
Technology, again, there's so much buzz at the moment, and in UI it's changing all the time. So I think try and become really good at one, but also have a little bit of experience in the others. Again, it comes back to side projects, always learning, always pushing. I'm a huge fan of Angular. I know React's a huge popularity. One of my interview questions actually is tell me when it's pros and cons of using React and using Angular, and the amount of people that say, oh, React because it's the most popular. It's like, you don't understand when it's best to use it and when it's best to use Angular. So just understand, I think the differences is really important.
So you should turn around this way if you're going to use this view, just FYI.
Oh yeah, let me. I forgot. I thought it was still on. Let me put it back.
Yeah, I could see you staring at the camera, but we're just looking at your hat.
I completely forgot. Sorry.
That's all good. Let me see. Can they see your open source startup? So people are interested in what you got going.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will drop a link if you're happy with that. Yeah, have a look. We're doing a bit of a pivot at the moment, so the mainline branch is a bit quiet, but we are doing work in another branch. It's all there. Even our retrospectives, our meetings are all shared on GitHub open source, so you can see everything. So this is the startup. I'll share a link now. But the next couple of months will be quite interesting. So yeah, we're having a bit of a pivot.
What is it? What does it do? I think it helped people manage something. I remember.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before with CIMCD, so with code always being deployed out to the development environment, the test environment, staging, etc., all the way up to production, it's really hard to know what version is in what environment because it's always changing. Maybe develop might be changing 10 times a day, but production might only change every other day or once a week. But the communication between the current team and the wider team ends up being quite noisy because everyone wants to know what versions. Pre-sales go, oh, I want to show upsell to a new customer or whatever, what's in staging, and it's a lot of distractions. So I get this with all my clients. So I want to, Dashboard Hub is to try and have a dashboard where it lists your environment and what version is in each environment, who did it, how long it took, when. There's a bit more than that now with like monitoring and various other things, but that's the main kind of core feature.
How do you stay profitable
Sorry, say again?
How do you stay profitable if you open source your stuff? Like, you gotta hide some of the proprietary stuff, right? Otherwise, people just copy paste what you do.
It's completely 100% open source. I know a lot of people say that, but
I mean, it's your brand that would be selling at that point, right?
True, and also people can download it and host it themselves, and when it dates and all the patches, all the cells, all themselves. But I think most companies and most people just want to pay $10 a month and just have it as a service. So, I mean, look at GitLab, for example. That's 100% open source. And some people do host it themselves for free. But most people just pay their $10, $20 a month and get GitLab to host it for them. Then they get all the latest features without doing any effort.
Yeah, but they know...
That way I can get a lot of feedback and build a community around it.
This guy knows what he's doing. Right, so that's, again, it comes down to branding, because they'll choose yours because you built it, and they're like, oh, well, this is nice to know that I have complete transparency with whatever it is he's doing. In addition to that, if I ever want to use his product but I don't have the money to, I think most people are like, hey, he built this, I'll pay for it. Similar to like, hey, this is my favorite artist, I'll buy his album. You know, the same.
And also it gets the hook. If someone wants to have a play with it, it's free. They can download it, install it. If they like it, eventually you know what? I don't want to manage it anymore. I just want to pay to do it.
That's
And
cool.
$10-$20 a month is not very much.
Yep. Full-time trader, you have an interest in learning to code to make trading algorithms, trading bots. Well, you said something about Python. At the moment, is this a good choice? Yeah, you'd be all right with Python. I've seen a lot of stuff built, like bots. A lot of bots are built with Python. So I think you'd be good with that. Any advice on anything you should be learning? Maybe, I don't know how to make like an algorithm for predictions per se, but I know you can write bots with Python. You're 16, you're interested in web dev, you did some client work for free, now you're getting some small paid clients. Do you have any tips on how to grow fast? Okay, you should try to grow fast, but you should try to do good work so that these people tell other people first, because word of mouth is all you got going. I'm assuming you don't have a YouTube channel or portfolio or advertisements going anywhere. So if you want to grow fast, the key to growing fast is to have a lot of eyes on anything that you do, which is why Twitter is in fact not profitable, but they could be at any point by selling everyone's data that they have. They have so many people's users' data, they have trending, that's why they have a trending page, they know what people like and they don't like, and they're just waiting it out to sell all the information before they go profitable. So the point is, like, basically, if you want to grow fast, you need lots of eyes on something or whatever it is that you want. That's how it goes up. If it's just a one-on-one and a one-on-one and a word of mouth and a word of mouth, that's not scalable. Make a portfolio, run Facebook ads for I build businesses, or I build websites for small local businesses at affordable rates. Hit me up, and then just target people within like 50 miles of where you live. Maybe that's the gym you're looking for. Let's see.
While you're reading that, does everyone like my GitHub cushion in the back and my Android cushion? I got a code cushion and some other ones as well.
Is that like a couch, or what is that?
Yeah, it's a couch that I never end up using. I always just sit in front of my screens and working. The couch was there for me to kind of relax, but I don't get time to use it.
Yeah. Let's see. Did you ever want to quit? Did you ever reach a point where you're like, I hate this, I want to quit? What am I doing with my life?
Yes, but not for that reason. I wanted to quit because I was working on it was a client's project, which was a terrible project using technologies incorrectly. The people were nice people, I'd go for a drink with them, but had no clue about software development, so it was all cutting corners, and within a month or two became horrendous to work with. Just doing the simplest things took days because it was a mess, and you'd pull this string and everything else would break. So not quit software engineering as a whole, but yeah, quit that project, and I kind of gave them a month's notice. I didn't have to give them a month's notice. I'm a contractor. I just, out of respect, said, look, you're not listening to any of my advice. This is what you're paying me for, and you're paying me well for it as well. But so I felt bad for them too. And I said, I'm not going to continue.
Okay.
But that was hard. I started enjoying coding less because of that project. But then I just did some open source projects and I got back into it and got excited, went to some events and got charged. So yeah, I'm going to a hackathon in May at The Hague if anyone's and it's a cool hackathon. Last year was awesome.
Shadow Code, any recommendations for portfolio projects you Googled, but they all seem to present to an employer? You love MERN stacks. Maybe you just Googled the wrong thing, because if you just Google projects built with React and then figure out how to attach a node, and then that's it. You're good to go. You think you mentioned Scandinavian jobs wanting a master's? I didn't technically mention that. It's free up to a PhD there, though. You're from the U.S. and currently planning on getting a master's in Denmark and work for a bit. Yeah, you don't need a master's. You don't need a bachelor's. It doesn't matter. If you want to work as a teacher in the Scandinavian countries, they require a master's. That's about it. But you can make more money elsewhere. You're getting a bachelor's in comp sci from Western Governor University. Do you think you should apply for senior positions upon graduation? No. Don't do that, Peter. Senior means like 7 years. Like maybe 5-7 years. Just apply. So this is the thing when you get a computer science degree. You're gonna get the same job as some dude from a boot camp, and you're gonna get paid the same as some dude from a boot camp. So it's like, what else? Just got a machine assembly code class. Nice, dude. Welcome aboard. Treehouse tech degree projects count to put on a portfolio? Yes.
Put everything on your portfolio. Literally everything. And as you get the older stuff or the stuff that you don't feel that's so valuable. But just better, just put everything on there, open source and on your portfolio. Just do it. Worry about removing things later.
Yep.
We'll never remove anything from GitHub, but in terms of your portfolio list, you might not list it, but it's still available there.
Let me see.
People want to see that history. People want to see your journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's even like the external stuff. Like if you're writing a blog post about what you built and why you built it, and here's some tip that you think would help other people, link that blog post somewhere. Put a readme.in like to your project and link to your Medium article or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me see. Of the channel, question above. Okay, Derek. Let me scroll. Let's see. You don't feel proficient enough after a coding bootcamp. Should you try and self-learn or go to another bootcamp? Self-learning. You were self-learning at the bootcamp regardless if you thought you were or not. There might have been people pushing you, but that was on you to do the learning. No one can learn for you. You're always going to be learning. There's no reason to go to another bootcamp, I don't think. You should have the fundamentals to keep going. And if you don't think that you do, it doesn't matter. You can still self-learn. You know what the bootcamp is like. Do you really think it would benefit you? I think you should probably be okay. But you're going to be self-learning the rest of your life. So when you say it like there has an endpoint to it, there's no endpoint. You just accept that you're not going to know everything before you die, no matter what. And you have to be okay with just, like, I'm never going to learn everything. That's just how it is. Okay. Are you into AirPod memes? No. Carl, do you hire people if they wear AirPods into the interview, Eddie?
If they wear AirPods?
No, if people come in with AirPods, is that instant hire?
No, that's instant fail. Because it comes back to what I was saying before. I mean, if they're wearing it while they're waiting and they're listening to a podcast or something, brilliant. They're multitasking, not just sitting there staring at the wall. But it's a fail because when they're on, okay, my time, when they're kind of with me, I want 100% with me. So it comes back to that, being focused and being, when you play, when you work with someone, be there. So yeah, when you're in there in the interview or the discussion, no matter how short or long it is, be there 100%. And then when you're waiting, show that you're multitasking. I think that's really important. But I do love Apple stuff, so maybe half a thumbs up.
Let's see. Advice for someone who had a bad experience at Code Bootcamp and you had to withdraw, but you still want to do it. You're not sure on this path forward. I mean, I'm sure you got the curriculum. I'm sure you have the, what is the word? Syllabus. I'm sure you have the syllabus paper from the bootcamp that you withdrew from. Follow the syllabus. There's not going to be anyone behind you pushing you to go and, saying, hey, do this thing. It's due by Friday. But follow that plan. You have a plan at bare minimum. No reason to be demotivated. Doesn't matter what program to start with. Depends on what you want to do. You want to be a designer and a front-end developer? Probably don't learn Ruby. Maybe JavaScript. Let's see. Lots of questions. Should you include something like...
These questions are great. Keep them coming.
Josh hits me with the doing comp sci in the UK. Don't like it. You want to drop out. Thank you for the 5, by the way. You're working as a software dev. 1 year experience. Placement year will leave. Wait. Well, I don't know. I'll let Eddie answer that. Do you think you should drop out?
How long have you been doing it for? If you've just started it, then you could. But if you're past halfway, I think you might as well continue. Even if you don't get the best grade, but you can say you've completed it.
What do you think if they have to go into like more debt to get it though?
Yeah, so the financial side is hard. It depends. Again, if you've already invested 50% of it, and it's useful to you and you need it personally, then you might want to continue. But if you want to drop out because of the debt, then yeah, you might want to call it a day if it's that hard on you. I came out of a lot of debt from uni, and I didn't like that, but the uni helped me focus my time. So technically it didn't help me in terms of coding, but in terms of allowing me to be more organized and focus and stuff like that. So I needed it, and so yeah. So that's a hard one.
He's third year in. So yeah, he'd probably just finish then.
I would finish. I would just finish, do the best you can. So when you come out with that debt, at least you come out with the best grade you can, and then make the most of it.
Let's see. Simpson, you asked, how hard is it to get sponsored in the U.S. as an international student? Do you want a student visa, or do you want to graduate and come here and work? If you want a student visa, I don't know. I'm from the U.S. I never had to interview for a student visa, but I know they're still particular about it. It'd be easier to move here if you worked at a company that has an international presence and then move laterally because they don't have to apply for a visa. I don't know how it works, but you can just move here. It's a lot easier. You don't have to get like the H-1B type deal. Why is Ruby bad? It has no use case other than Sinatra and Ruby on Rails. No practical use case in terms of like popularity and jobs and employment. I'm sure you can make stuff with Ruby, right? But like let's be practical here. Would it help if you just bring the laptop and show your project progression from simple? I feel like that just make it real awkward. I'm sure they schedule 45 minutes because they have 45 minutes of questions to ask you, not 45 minutes of like you being like, hey, look at this thing and let me explain what I'm doing. What do you think of WebAssembly? People keep asking me that. I don't know how to answer it really. I'm like, it's a thing. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I haven't got into it massively. I mean, PWA, it's really popular. People ask me about that. I don't know. It's still early days. I think they'll come to something in the future, but let's see what happens. And it also could change. All technologies have their high and then their low, and something else better comes out. It's a tough one.
It's a lot of code. C is a very long language. You'd be writing a lot of C to get probably similar functionality to JavaScript. I feel like there's a lot more syntax to it. Just so typing it out would just be longer. I mean, not like a one-to-one example problem would probably be not that different, but like you could see how that could start to take a lead over time if they didn't figure out a way to make it quicker. That's on where Android development is going. I have progressive web apps probably. Been offered $30K job to direct the back end. Oh, nice. I mean, if you're still in school, take it. And then I think $30K in the UK is actually pretty good. I think the average is like 28, right?
For a junior dev, yeah, that's pretty good. I think 25 and 35. So yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. C# or JavaScript? JavaScript.
Yeah, I would agree with that one as well.
Python versus Node. What do you want to do? That's my question. What do you say?
Python is quite generalized, and it's very popular. But JavaScript you can use for the back end and front end. So I think it's pretty good. And if you want to do like any of the AI stuff or machine learning stuff, you can connect to third parties, or they have like TensorFlow in JavaScript now, which was ported from Python. So I would pick one. And then you can always learn the other one a lot quicker.
Why React or why Angular? Angular is an MVC. React is not an MVC. React has a different use case and no backend. Angular has an entire backend with it. They're just different. If you want a single page application, React is the way to go. If you want an MVC, use Angular.
That's one of my interview questions, and Josh answered it really well. Just to add a bit more to that, React you can get a lot. It's got lower barrier to entry. You can get it's the view part of the MVC, so it's not all of it. You have to add in lots of other stuff to get going. So it starts off really quick, but I found from projects it then starts getting a bit slower, and there's less standards. So if all of us built something simple in React, we'd all build it slightly differently, whereas with Angular would be much closer, so people can jump between projects more easily. And it has everything you need: routing, protecting the routes, resolves, loads of stuff. So I prefer Angular because no project is that small; it always grows bigger.
Is React the best JavaScript to learn in terms of like job capability? But I would almost at this point, as React gets more and more popular, I would say almost look at what everyone is doing and go the opposite way and take a legacy language, learn PHP to take a PHP job that no one wants to do because everyone wants to learn React. Get that first job, put that on your resume. You've now been paid to code. Check. Then you learn React in your free time and go get a React job. And now you're above everyone else that was trying to get in that barrier to entry thing. All right, well, there's another question. Why do you think there's such a big salary difference between you and me in terms of our countries?
So give me an example.
So like your starting salary is 25 to 30K pounds, and ours is 45 to 55, maybe even $60,000, which is it's still more than your pounds. But I would say just because of how taxes are structured, like you pay a lot more than us. That's just it. What do you think?
Yeah, every country is different. It's really hard. I mean, Yeah, I know some people. So I've worked with some people in the UK, but they live in Portugal or Spain or Hungary, and they're getting paid the UK salary. So although it's maybe lower than the US, they're living like a kind of king or queen in mainland Europe. So I guess that's how it is in the states as well. From state to state, some states pay more than others. So yeah, it's just the economy is supply and demand at the moment. In the UK, there are a lot of developers, but a lot that don't stand out. So to find a developer is easy. To find a good developer is hard, and that's why the interview process, when I interview people, it starts off fun, but really becomes hard and painful because people write loads of BS on their CV, which isn't true. And when you find out in the interview, I get really annoyed and just say, "Just why weren't you honest from the beginning?"
Okay. Let's see. What's the next great technology, and why is it blockchain? It's blockchain is not going anywhere. Cryptocurrency is a different story. You have to go in a few minutes, right?
I'm good for another 15, but whenever you need to, just say.
Okay.
I mean, you've got over 200 people now watching, and it's lots of good questions. So you're the boss.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The viewer count froze. I have no idea who's here. If you're here and you're enjoying the conversation back and forth, maybe hit a thumbs up. We would appreciate that. And then Eddie, please drop your channel because he's the mastermind of all the tech, all the open source. If you want to go check out his stuff, he has a book on open source. Tomorrow I'm dropping a video on his book, his open source book, and obviously it's not paid because it would go against open source, right? So like it's just going to be like a bullet point list of everything open source. It's his book. It's on his GitHub, and then you can also get the PDF sent to you from his website.
Thanks for the shout out. That's awesome.
Sure.
I see people DMing me, by the way. Gort. Great. I'm looking forward to reading your questions. I was just going to say, if you maybe put it in a public channel, because other people might want to know the answer, see the questions and answers, because you'll be surprised how many people are in the same situation as you. So rather than DMing me, unless it's super private, but if you can do it in public, but do tag me so I get notified.
Where should you look if you don't know what field you should pursue? Where should you look? I can't tell you where should you look. I would instead say you should just try all of those things and then see which one sticks. And that's going to take time. You can't try everything at once, and people want that. They just it's going to take time. It took me like a good 4 years to figure out, okay, like you're not the greatest programmer and you don't really have that fire burning underneath you to do it all day, every day for 12 hours a day. And like, okay, well, what should I do? Should I be a game dev? Okay, that didn't work. What should I do? Should I be a vlogger? Okay, that didn't work. You just have to try things, and that takes time, and it's annoying, and you have to be willing to endure that amount of time to figure out what doesn't work, because it's really depressing and demotivating when you you think it's going to work, and then that one doesn't work, and then you're like, I guess I'll try something else, or you'll just become depressed and to think that there's no point to your life. I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. That's kind of like blunt, but I'm sorry. All right, we got a lot of questions. Answer these as fast as you can, Eddie. I'm just going to shotgun them to you.
Cool.
Let's see.
I saw some hackathons get mentioned.
Which hackathon in Hague did you speak of? The Hackathon for Peace?
Yeah, I think it's called a Hackathon for Good, but yeah, it's about and something else. There was one in November. There's another one coming out in May. They've just told me today, so they'll announce the new dates and stuff. It's end of May, I think, in the next couple of days. So I'll be showing it on Twitter and all the rest. But yeah, that was an awesome hackathon. I had a first prize of 10K as well, which is quite nice.
What else we got? What do you think of services like Wix, Site Builder, WordPress, blah, blah, blah? If you want to be a web dev, should you be afraid of those? No. Show me a drag and drop website where I can build YouTube with a complete backend, user interfaces, logging in and out, authentication, and all of those features. You can't do that with Wix. Wix is like drag and drop your site, and here's like a pre-made store where you can select a couple shirts. Like, nah. Like, someone's going to have to... There's people got a lot of ideas out there, and there's going to be a lot of people that needs to build. All right. What do we got? Any chance you'll be in Birmingham for a hackathon?
I think it's quite interesting this year in the UK, Ireland, Birmingham, Manchester, so I am going to be branching out a bit. But the interesting thing is it's cheaper for me to go to Brussels for a hackathon this weekend, or for a conference, FOSDEM, this weekend, than it is to go to Manchester, which is, crazy. So that's why I do a lot more in Europe, because it's bigger conferences, bigger events, bigger hackathons, and they usually cost me less to go. But yeah, I'm going to start doing more in the UK to a few. So yeah, Birmingham, we'll do it. If you know of one, let me know. Send me a link. Let's do it.
Cool. Thoughts on game dev? It's saturated. If you want to be if you want to be a successful game dev and work on something that you want, and not Kitty Cars 12 or like Pony Racer 3 you have to do it yourself and build your own game and market it and do the development and do the animations. Like that's your option. Or you can get really lucky and work 90 hours a week on Fortnite because you love Fortnite, and then get paid $30,000 and told to be grateful for the opportunity to do so. I don't know, your choice. It seems like a no-brainer to me. Let's see, what should you do next when you get older as a developer? I mean, you have two choices. You become a senior developer or you move towards management. So you want to do more tech or you want to do more people stuff. That's your choice. What do we got?
More tech.
Yeah. Can you enter the industry as a junior if you focus on Rails, or is this a very bad idea? I mean, you can do Rails, but most Rails jobs are senior developer positions for what I've seen. I did get a junior Ruby job. It wasn't Rails, it was a Sinatra job. And I worked there for a day, and then I quit because it was super micromanaging. Like, I just, like, literally I didn't make it through the first day. I quit before it was over because I had a second job offer, which I took, and which was the one that laid all 12 of us off. So after I got laid off, I was like, damn it, Josh, why didn't you just keep the job? Like, at least you'd have a job. But, like, it was like every time you stepped away from the computer, you had to type stepping away, going to the bathroom, laying down for 5 minutes, drinking, like taking a sip of my coffee, please hold. Like, it was insane. There was a dedicated Slack channel of like 300 people just nonstop tick, 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 because everyone... I was like, this is a remote company. This is not the way to do it. There has to be trust here. You clearly don't trust people. So I was like, yeah, bye.
That's crazy. Yeah, good job you left.
But at the same time, I was like, oh, you should have just kept it. But yeah. Let's see. What's your opinion on Flutter? It's Flutter versus React Native right now, right? So I don't know who's neck and neck or who's actually winning. I know a lot more people know React, so it might be easier to learn React Native. I've never actually looked at Flutter, so I don't know what that looks like specifically. Will AI eventually take all the jobs for developers? Someone will have to decide of an idea they want to make first, and then if that AI can completely do a design that you had in your mind better than you, maybe, and they can develop it better than you, maybe, and they can integrate, like, I don't know. Maybe over the course of time, AI will do most things, but never to the degree of a person.
That's still good stuff.
Megman, hey, why does your CV and resume need an address? Because I'm not sure. Let me remove it. Go to the Gumroad. So yesterday you brought your lunch and put it in the break room fridge at lunch. It was gone. Who does that? See, I know. See, people steal food because they're like, if the company's big enough, there's no consequence. What do you think of a CV with multiple jobs, short periods? Does job hopping look bad in your eyes? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That does worry me. Even if for a contract, if permanent, especially, that's why I think 2 years is a soft spot. But if it's if you're a freelancer or a contractor, if you don't get a renewal, that really worries me as well.
What if you pull the old Josh and people are just like, bye, bye, bye?
That's different. If you've got if it does explain why, I was made redundant or I didn't like it there, I left, that's fine. But if you've kind of got 6 jobs and you've been all of them really short, or you haven't been, or they're contract or freelance and haven't been renewed, then that's a bit worrying.
What if they're contract and that you just finished it and it was over? You just say that?
Yeah, projects never really finish. So I would like to think that people have at least been renewed once or twice. If they've never been renewed or contract rolled over, then that is worrying.
Yeah. Let's see. Cybersecurity.
Hey, Eddie.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go on. No. I just saw my name. That's why I was reading out loud.
Okay. Do you think it's important to enjoy programming? I think it's important to enjoy the process of whatever you're doing, not like the end goal. Some people do programming, and the little moments where you fix a bug and you solve a problem, those are nice, but you have to enjoy. There's a lot more parts of programming where you're sitting there staring at the screen wondering how you can make this work or how you're going to build this thing than there are moments of flicking the switch and seeing if it works. So you need to be invested in the other stuff before the end goal. Like, the whole point of dancing is to do the dance, like on the floor and dance, like not to be done with it and get a score from judges or whatever. Like, that's what you need to be invested in. The process is what they say. Invest in the process. Should you enjoy it? If you find something else, maybe go do that thing. What types of service architecture exist? The only one you know is REST. I don't know. Eddie, he knows.
What does it mean when a service is stateless, and what does it mean for scalability? Stateless, you can scale so much more. So if your API is stateless, it doesn't. The request coming in will have the information it needs, and the backend can just process it without keeping state, so therefore you can scale that across multiple servers, because then you don't care about where the previous request came in, for example. So, and then there's serverless hosting on AWS, like Lambda, popular, or Google or Azure, because then you don't pay for, I need a 4 gig RAM server and whatever. You just pay for each time your function runs, which is amazing. I've been using that for the last year and a bit, or maybe even 2 years now. And I absolutely love it. Serverless API stuff is the way to go. Keeps your costs down and your scalability massively high. So, yeah.
So Arian says, super typical question. When do you know you're ready to apply? And you know what I normally say is, you don't, but I got a different answer today. I think that you know you're ready to apply when you do these specific things in this specific order. You woke up, you had orange juice for breakfast with a toast and some grape jelly. If it's not grape jelly, you're not ready to apply. And then you need at least 364 hours in JavaScript along with 200 hours in Overwatch as a tracer main. And then you need to apply to 3 jobs and get rejected, and then you'll be ready. Okay? Those are the only, and you need, down to the second here. I'm talking, nanoseconds, 364 hours, 25 minutes, 22 seconds, 0.003. And then you know you're ready. So that's how it goes. Does every interview ask algorithm questions? No.
I don't ask any. I interview a lot of people, but I don't ask them. I think that's not important.
I mean, so Elvis says I'm a Reaper main. Well, I'm already Tracer. Okay. Let's see. What kind of projects would you recommend to build for your resume? It depends on what you would like to do as a job or a career. You want to do machine learning, you probably shouldn't make portfolio websites. You should probably build something like a little mini algorithm. Level 1 developer, just landed your first job from college. What does level 1 developer mean? I don't know what that means. We don't really have that here. Is that junior? Do you know what that means?
I'm not sure. I'm guessing so.
Okay.
Level 1 developer, first job from college. Ask for a raise when you think you're able to give more value back to the project or the team. So if you feel you're having less guidance and you're giving more contribution to the project and the team, then you can ask for a raise.
Eddie, are you ready? I've probably not asked when we're streaming, but I'm gonna ask when we're streaming. Are you gonna make a course on how to do open source stuff? I know you've made videos and tutorials, but a step-by-step video course or something of do this thing here and this thing here and blah blah blah.
Yeah, if that's what people want to see, then more. If people can, let me know if that's something they want to see. Then I can do it. If I can do that, if they want to get more into open source, which I hope you do, then and that will help your CV, help you get jobs, and help you stand out amongst the crowd. Like I said, if I get a CV and it's got a GitHub link on it, those CVs go to the top, and then out of those CVs, the ones that have activity then goes to the top, and I literally discard the rest. I'm quite harsh because I do get a stack of CVs, so I need to be a bit ruthless.
Do you put remote on the job title and then you just get 900 resumes?
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Is database a good place to start for a career? You would be more an analyst role, I imagine. You'd just be writing SQL queries for reports for customers most of the day. I wouldn't say that'd be good for a dev career. What's his name? His name is Eddie Van Halen. How do taxes work as a freelancer? You have to pay them yourself. So in the U.S., a good safe spot is about 40%. You got to pay unemployment tax, which is 15.6%. If you're an LLC, sole proprietor, all money goes to you regardless. If you're an S corp, you get to distribute some of that. I can go on and on and on. That's a whole ask your accountant type deal. But basically, you have to do your own taxes. How do you market yourself as jack of all trades, master of none? I don't market myself as jack of all trades, master of none. I market myself as, hey, I can learn this thing if you need me to, and I'll learn it fast. And I'll do it for whatever we need to do it for. I'm very pragmatic with the use case, and not I'm gonna dive deep into this thing even though I don't need to do it. I'm more of hey, I need to do this thing, I'm gonna figure out how, and then I move on to the next thing I need to do and figure out how. And then if I don't, then I'll ask somebody. And that's how I advertise. You're getting questions.
I think that's really important. Just to build on that one. If you've learned an MVC framework, be it in Python or PHP or JavaScript, you understand the the MVC design pattern and the other patterns around it and how that all fits together. So once you've learned one, then the others you can pick up quite easily. So in the PHP world, if someone says I haven't done PHP in years, but if someone says they've done, I don't know, Zen framework, and I want to use Symfony, then I know that the ideas can be, they'll know what to search for. Oh, I want to do this, and it's called this in Zen, what's in, so they'll know where to look in the docs. Where they've never done MVC, then that's what's more worrying. So I would say, try and learn certain areas, and then just be aware of the other areas and how it's applied to other languages and frameworks.
Okay. Let's see. How do you land remote job with simple PHP backend dev with 3-4 year experience? We work remotely, Stack Overflow, remote, OK.io, Indeed.com if you're in the US, but it doesn't look like you are because your name is in Cyrillic characters there. So we work remotely in Stack Overflow with remote box checked and contracting checked would work best for you. How often do you come across online? You just subscribe. There's a lot to learn. A lot. You should interview Tech Lead on a live stream. I'd have to get Tech Lead to respond to an email first. Same with anyone else on YouTube. Fluke Bootcamp coming soon, guys. Actually, I'm making some courses on how to build a developer brand, and I mean like to the T, like how to make thumbnails, how to write, like make good art for your medium, how to get eye-catching stuff, good call to action words, call to action phrases, how to do this, blah blah blah. I'm gonna put that all on my Teachable, because if you guys want to go learn JavaScript, just go hit up Brad Traversy or Udemy or whatever, right? Let's see. Did you see any questions? I think you got one question in here.
I saw a few. Let me roll back and see. Is it worth making your own MVC portfolio? So to learn, it's good. I think it's a learning process, but don't think it's going to be the next big MVC framework that everybody uses. So it's a learning curve. It's great, but don't stop there. You need to learn other things as well, but don't spend years going, I've built this 3 years on this MVC framework. But if you do it for a few months to learn about it, I think it's a good.
Yeah. Would you hire someone that only knows HTML and CSS? I personally, I probably wouldn't, just because the fundamentals of JavaScript are going to have a lot of questions, at least getting started. I would say at least, because chances are we're not going to be using vanilla JavaScript on the job. We're going to be using something that builds on that, and so I have to teach you that first, and then the thing that we're using to build the actual thing. And so at that point, you're more of like a cost than an investment. You're just straight up I'm paying you to train you. Whereas like if you know the fundamentals, then I can teach you how to use the thing that we're using to build our project. But I don't want to double up on that, double dip in the cookie jar, and teach you the fundamentals and then how to use the thing that builds on the fundamentals, and then you actually get started really slow, and then you start to make progress, and then I start to get what I'm paying for. So that'd be tough. So learn the fundamentals of JavaScript first.
I've just seen a question. I've just scrolled up a bit. It's gone so fast, but I saw Alex asking about SOA, so service-oriented architecture versus microservice. So SOA was big back in the day, and now everyone goes on to microservices. Buzzword. A lot of people don't know how to do microservices properly, so either share a database, which is not a microservice, or they don't know how to version the releases between. So if you're deploying an API for blogs, you're deploying an API for authentication, how do you keep it in sync if they're deployed separately? So lots of good questions around there, so make sure you do your research. ESB is a bit dated, but some places use it to manage the versions between the microservices. So that's a really, really good question.
Let's see. Is it okay to write a blog on a topic if you found someone else has already written a blog on a topic? I don't know if you've ever watched the news, but there's literally 13 news stations all reporting the same story. Same thing with a blog. No one cares. It's how you write. It's how people relate to you. It's the description you give. It's the details you give. It's how you sell it. It's just how it's your thing. Let's see. We got a few minutes left, but I think we'll start wrapping up. We'll do some shout outs, and if you guys are interested in his channel, please paste all your stuff, and I don't know how you want them to contact you, but YouTube comments, I don't know. They can DM you on this Discord, but I don't know if you have your own.
Yeah, I have it on, but I'm a big fan of private messages, because then people don't learn from it. So either tag me in a group channel in Josh's Discord, or even better, comments in YouTube would help my engagement, so I'd really appreciate that. That would be awesome, and I'll definitely reply, and it's always there, because in Discord, even in the public channels, I feel it kind of disappears off. So I would appreciate that. Or on social, Twitter and all the rest. I look forward to seeing lots of people at events and hackathons, so...
Cool.
Yeah.
So, if you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up on your way out, guys. And if you're interested in all the courses that I'm going to make, my little grind rail thing, Teachable, is down there. There's only GitHub on there right now. But all this stuff we've been talking about, brand building and how to do better in interviews, and all this stuff is going to go in there. And it'll be awesome. So thanks, Eddie, for doing this. And hope you guys enjoyed, got some value out of it. And thank you all for the donations. So I'll see you guys.
Shall I show my screen one more time?
Yeah, here. I'll full screen you.
Last time.
All right.
Welcome to my setup. Wah wah wah.
We're gonna
evil setup.
We're gonna end on this 80-inch screen with my oversaturated thumbnails. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll catch you later in the videos.